Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video.
Ryan, where are you? I'm going to be late because of you,
Jake yelled as he paced around his friend's apartment. It was a spacious, modern place with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a stunning view of the city skyline. But Jake wasn't there to admire the scenery. Just a sec, bro. I'm almost done. Ryan's voice echoed from the bedroom, followed by the sound of hangers scraping against a clothes rod. Jake rolled his eyes.
We have that big client meeting today, and you know I need your help with the pitch. Get out here.
A moment later, Ryan emerged from the bedroom, a smug smile on his face. He strode confidently toward Jake, hands on his hips.
Take a look, my friend. Do I know how to dress to impress, or what?
Jake's eyes widened as he took in the sight before him. Ryan, his tall, muscular build now accentuated by a sleek, form-fitting red dress that hugged his curves, or rather, his newly acquired curves. The dress dipped low in the back, showcasing powerful shoulders, and the skirt fell just above the knee, revealing toned legs.
The hell?
Ryan? What is this? Jake sputtered, his eyes darting between his friend's transformed body and the dress.
What, this old thing?
Ryan purred, running a hand lovingly over the dress. I figured, why should girls have all the fun? So I got a little creative with my wardrobe choices. You like? Like? Are you crazy? Take that thing off. We have a meeting, remember? Jake's voice rose in panic as he gestured frantically at the dress. Ryan's smile faded, replaced by a look of mock hurt.
Oh, come on, Jake. Live a little. Life is short. And besides, I think I make this look damn good.
You're not funny, man. This isn't a joke. Take it off, now. Jake's tone groveled, a mix of anger and concern. Ryan sighed dramatically, rolling his eyes. Fine. If it means that much to you, I'll change. But you're no fun at all, you know that? As Ryan turned to head back to the bedroom, Jake called out,
And delete those photos while you're at it.
What photos? Ryan asked innocently, a mischievous glint in his eye.
Don't play dumb, the ones you just took.
Aw, come on, Jake. Those were for posterity, a little memento of this glorious moment. Delete them! Jake's voice was stern, leaving no room for argument. With a theatrical groan, Ryan disappeared into the bedroom, the red dress swishing around his legs as he walked. And hurry up! We're already late! Jake called after him, running a hand through his hair in frustration. A few minutes later, Ryan emerged once more, now dressed in a sharp suit, his usual confident smile back in place. Happy now? Jake let out a breath, his anxiety easing slightly. Let's go.
We don't have time to spare.
As they made their way out of the apartment, Ryan shot a conspiratorial grin at Jake.
You know, that dress isn't going anywhere. It'll be waiting for me when I get back.
Jake shook his head, a wry smile playing at the corners of his mouth.
Just focus on nailing that pitch. We need this client.
The two friends hurried off, their voices trailing off as they discussed last-minute strategies for their important meeting. Little did Jake know that this was only the beginning of a wild ride, one that would test the limits of their friendship and push them into uncharted territory. Ryan strode into the office, Jake hot on his heels. The buzz of the workplace washed over them, the click-clack of keyboards and the hum of voices filling the air. Heads turned as they passed, some doing double takes at the sight of Ryan in his customary suit, briefcase in hand. You ready for this? Jake asked, a hint of nerves in his voice. Ryan flashed a confident grin.
Born ready, my friend.
Their colleagues gave them curious glances as they made their way to the conference room, the buzz of speculation surrounding them. All right, team, let's do this, Jake said, his voice steady as he ushered everyone into the room. The meeting commenced and Ryan took the lead, his pitch smooth and persuasive. The room hung on his every word, their faces intent, nodding along as he wove a compelling narrative around their product. As Ryan reached the climax of his presentation, a soft musical chime filled the room. He paused, his brow furrowing slightly as he reached into his pocket. Sorry, just a second. His fingers closed around his phone and he pulled it out, his face transforming as he read the message on the screen. It was from Jake, or at least it appeared to be. "Oh, wow. Looks like there's been a change of plans." Ryan's voice held a note of surprise as he glanced up, his eyes locking with Jake's across the room. Jake's face mirrored his confusion.
What? I didn't send any message.
A murmur ran through the room as people exchanged puzzled looks. Ryan's smile was tight as he cleared his throat.
Seems there's been a mix-up, but no worries. I can adapt.
He tapped the screen, his thumbs moving deftly as he crafted a reply.
All set. Heading there now.
Jake rose from his seat, his chair scraping noisily against the floor. "What the… Ryan? What are you doing?" Ryan's thumb hovered over the send button, his eyes flicking up to meet Jake's. A flicker of something passed between them, a spark of recognition, a shared secret. Then, with a smooth motion, Ryan sent the message and slid the phone back into his pocket.
My apologies, everyone. A minor emergency has come up, and I need to attend to it right away. Jake here will take care of the rest of the pitch.
A chorus of disappointed sighs filled the room, but Ryan was already heading for the door.
I'll leave you in capable hands. I'm sure Jake will knock it out of the park.
Jake sputtered, his eyes darting between Ryan's retreating back and the confused faces of their colleagues.
But I don't…
The door closed behind Ryan, leaving Jake alone to stumble through the rest of the presentation. The questions came fast and sharp once the meeting ended, and Jake did his best to field them, his mind racing.
What was that about? Is everything okay? Why did Ryan leave so abruptly?
Jake could only offer vague assurances, his mind spinning.
Everything's fine. Ryan had to handle something urgent, but we're still on track. We can continue this discussion later.
The concerned and curious looks on his colleagues' faces did little to ease Jake's own growing worry. Something was up with Ryan, and he intended to get to the bottom of it. As the room emptied, Jake's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number.
Curious, aren't you?
Jake's eyes widened as he read the message, his heart hammering in his chest. "Who is this?" he typed furiously, his thumbs flying across the screen. The reply came swiftly.
Shh, all will be revealed. Just play along for now.
Jake stared at the words, his mind racing. Play along? What did that even mean? With a sense of growing unease, he rose from his seat and hurried out of the conference room, his phone clutched tightly in his hand. Jake paced the hallway outside the conference room, his phone clutched in his hand. He fired off another text, his fingers flying across the screen. "This isn't funny, Ryan. Cut the crap and tell me what's going on." The reply came swiftly.
No can do, amigo. You'll ruin the surprise.
Surprise? This isn't the time for games. Jake's thumbs hammered out the words, his frustration mounting.
Oh, but it's the perfect time. Besides, you love a good challenge, don't you?
Jake growled in frustration, raking a hand through his hair.
This isn't a challenge, it's a pain in the ass. Just tell me what you're up to.
There was a pause, then the unknown number replied,
All in good time. For now, just trust me and go with it. It'll be worth it, I promise.
Jake stared at the message, his jaw clenching. Trust? After the stunt Ryan had pulled in the meeting? It seemed insane, and yet there was a part of him that was intrigued, a nagging curiosity that refused to let go. With a resigned sigh, he typed,
Fine, but you owe me big time for this.
No regrets, came the swift reply.
Now, enough chit-chat. You've got a meeting to get back to.
Jake scowled at the phone, his thumb hovering over the send button.
This isn't over,
he muttered under his breath as he returned to the conference room. The curious and concerned glances from his colleagues did little to ease Jake's mounting tension. He forced a confident smile, doing his best to allay their worries.
Everything's under control. Ryan had to handle something urgent, but we're still on track. Let's continue, shall we?
The room gradually relaxed, the murmur of voices rising once more as they dove back into the discussion. But Jake's mind was only half present, his attention divided between the meeting and the mysterious texter. As the minutes ticked by, his phone remained silent, the absence of further messages only serving to heighten his curiosity. Who was behind this? And what surprise could Ryan possibly be planning? The meeting drew to a close, and Jake found himself surrounded by a barrage of questions and concerns. He fielded them as best he could, his mind elsewhere. As the room emptied, he lingered, unable to shake the feeling that something significant was about to happen. A soft ping startled him, and he looked down at his phone. A new message had arrived. Now, for the main event, head to the usual spot. Jake's heart raced as he read the words, his curiosity piqued. The usual spot? His mind began ticking, trying to piece together Ryan's plan. With a sense of mounting anticipation, he made his way out of the office, his steps quickening as he drew closer to the mystery's source. Jake hurried through the familiar streets, his eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of Ryan. The usual spot, Ryan had said. But where exactly was that? His phone buzzed in his hand, the mysterious texter breaking the silence. Getting warmer. Jake stopped abruptly, his eyes narrowing.
What game are you playing, Ryan? No games, my friend. Just a little fun. Keep going.
Jake resumed his stride, his eyes narrowing in determination.
You realize this is messing with my head, right?
A soft chuckle emanated from his phone.
It's all part of the experience. Trust me, it'll be worth it.
Jake scowled, his thumb hovering over the send button.
Easy for you to say. You're not the one being led on a wild goose chase.
Wild goose chase? Came the playful reply.
Now, no need for dramatics. You're almost there.
Jake's steps faltered as he approached a nondescript building, its brick facade weathered by time. It was an old warehouse, abandoned long ago, and it held a special significance for them. It was where they'd first met. How did you... Just keep going. The answers are waiting. With a sense of rising trepidation, Jake pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. The cavernous space yawned before him, shadows dancing in the dim light filtering through the dusty windows. Well, the texter prodded. Jake's eyes darted around the room, taking in the disused machinery, the discarded crates, and the faded graffiti on the walls. I'm here. Now what? Look for a door. A hidden one. Jake frowned, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. A hidden door? What kind of B-movie shenanigans is this? A soft, mischievous laugh echoed through his phone.
Indulge me, won't you? It's all part of the fun.
Jake huffed, but his curiosity got the better of him. He began to search, his hands running over the walls, his eyes scanning for any sign of a hidden entrance. As his fingers traced a series of bricks, one of them shifted slightly under his touch. His pulse quickened as he realized it was a lever. He pulled, and a section of the wall swung open, revealing a dark passageway beyond.
I'm not sure if I should be impressed or concerned,
he muttered, stepping through the opening. Both, probably, came the cheeky reply.
Keep going. The surprise is just ahead.
Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he made his way down the dimly lit corridor. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of dust and secrets. This better be good, he grumbled half to himself. And then he froze. Before him, illuminated by a soft, ethereal light, stood Ryan. Or at least it appeared to be Ryan. But something was different. Very different. The figure before him wore a sleek, form-fitting dress, its style similar to the one Ryan had playfully modeled earlier. But this time, it wasn't Ryan's muscular frame that filled it out. It was a woman's body, curvy and voluptuous, her red hair cascading over her shoulders. "Ryan?" Jake breathed, his eyes widening in disbelief. The figure smiled, and Ryan's voice, now carrying a sultry, feminine lilt, purred. "The surprise is me, Jake. Or should I say, Riley?" Jake's eyes darted over the transformed figure before him, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. "But how—" Ryan took a step forward, her hips swaying beneath the clingy fabric of the dress. "You remember that app we downloaded a while back? The one that lets you try on different outfits virtually? Jake nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving Riley's face. Well, it turns out there was a glitch. A very interesting one. Ryan's voice held a note of excitement. It didn't just let me try on women's clothes, it actually put me in a woman's body, complete with all the physical attributes. Jake's eyes widened further as he took in the full extent of the transformation. You're serious? Ryan, or rather Riley, smiled, a mischievous glint in her eye. As a heart attack. And here's the kicker. The change is temporary, but I have no idea how long it'll last. Could be hours, could be days. Jake shook his head as if to clear it. But why? The dress? And the text messages? Riley's smile softened, her voice turning playful. I wanted to give you a little taste of what I was experiencing, a peek into my new world. And I thought, well, you seemed to enjoy the dress earlier. Jake's cheeks flushed as he recalled his reaction to Ryan in the dress. Riley's laughter filled the space, warm and infectious. It's okay, Jake. No judgments here. Riley's laughter softened, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Well, now that I have your attention, what do you say we have a little fun with this? Jake swallowed hard, his mind still reeling from the revelation. Fun? What kind of fun? Riley's smile turned coy as she sauntered closer, her hips swaying with each step. Oh, the kind of fun that only two friends who've known each other for years can have. Jake's heart hammered in his chest as Riley drew near, her perfume enveloping him in a heady cloud. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Riley's hand came to rest on his chest, her fingers tracing a playful pattern. Why not? Afraid you might like it too much? Jake's breath caught in his throat as he looked down at her, his eyes drinking in the sight of her transformed body. It's not that. It's just, you're still Ryan, aren't you? My best friend? Riley's expression softened, her hand stilling on his chest. I am, but I'm also Riley now, and Riley wants to explore this new side of herself, with you. Jake's mind raced as he grappled with the implications of her words. But what about after, when you change back? Riley shrugged, a playful smile tugging at her lips. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, let's just enjoy the moment. And with that, she leaned in, her lips brushing against his in a soft, tentative kiss. Jake's eyes fluttered closed as he surrendered to the sensation, his hands coming to rest on her waist. The kiss deepened, and he found himself getting lost in the feel of her, the taste of her. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing heavily, their eyes locked on each other. Wow, Jake breathed, his voice rough with emotion. Riley grinned, her cheeks flushed with pleasure. Yeah. Wow. They stood there for a moment, just looking at each other, the weight of what had just happened hanging between them. Finally, Riley broke the silence. So, what now? Jake shook his head, a wry smile playing at the corners of his mouth. I have no idea, but I'm game to find out if you are. Riley's answering grin was all the answer he needed. As they made their way out of the hidden room, Jake's mind was spinning with the possibilities. What would happen when people found out about Ryan's transformation? How would it change things between them? The next few days passed in a whirlwind of activity as Riley settled into her new identity. She and Jake spent every spare moment together, exploring the city through fresh eyes. They hit up all the old haunts, the dive bar where they'd first bonded over cheap beer and greasy burgers, the arcade where they'd spent countless hours battling each other at Street Fighter, the park where they'd once pulled an all-nighter studying for finals. But now everything felt different. The way people looked at Riley, the way they treated her. Men held doors open for her, offered to buy her drinks. Women complimented her on her outfit, invited her to join them for girls' nights out. At first, Riley reveled in the attention, basking in the novelty of it all. But as the days wore on, a nagging sense of unease began to creep in. It's just weird, you know? she confided to Jake one night as they sat on the rooftop of their apartment building, sharing a 6-pack of beer. "The way people treat me now, like I'm this delicate flower that needs to be protected." Jake nodded, taking a swig of his beer. "I can only imagine. But hey, at least you're getting free drinks out of it, right?" Riley punched him playfully in the arm. "Shut up! You know that's not what I meant." Jake's expression turned serious. "I know, and I get it. It must be tough having people see you differently all of a sudden." Riley sighed, leaning back on her elbows. "It's not just that. It's like I'm starting to see myself differently too. Like I'm not sure who I am anymore." Jake reached out, taking her hand in his. "You're still you, Rye, no matter what body you're in." Riley's fingers tightened around his. "Am I, though? Sometimes I wonder." They sat in silence for a moment, the city lights twinkling below them. Finally, Jake spoke. "You know, maybe this is an opportunity, a chance to explore a side of yourself you never knew existed." Riley turned to look at him, her brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" Jake shrugged. "I don't know exactly, but think about it. How often do we get the chance to see the world through someone else's eyes? To experience life in a completely different way?" Riley considered this, her expression thoughtful. "I guess you're right. It's just scary, you know? Not knowing what's going to happen next." Jake smiled, giving her hand a squeeze. "Hey, that's what makes life interesting, right? The not knowing." Riley returned his smile, her eyes sparkling in the moonlight. "Yeah, I guess it is." But as much as Riley was starting to enjoy her new life, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was missing. Late at night, lying awake in bed, she found herself wondering what it would be like to go back to being Ryan, to slip into his skin once more, to see the world through his eyes. She tried to push the thoughts away, telling herself that she was happy as Riley, that this was her life now. But the doubts persisted, gnawing at her like a persistent itch she couldn't scratch. One evening, as she and Jake sat on the couch watching a movie, Riley finally broached the subject. "Jake?" she said softly, her eyes fixed on the screen. He replied, his attention focused on the film. "Do you ever wonder what it would be like if I changed back?" Jake's head snapped towards her, his eyes widening in surprise. "What do you mean?" Riley sighed, pausing the movie. "I mean, if I went back to being Ryan, do you think things would be different between us?" Jake was silent for a moment, his expression thoughtful. "I don't know," he said finally. "I guess it would depend on how you felt about it." Riley nodded, biting her lip. "I've been thinking about it a lot lately, about what it would be like to go back to my old life." Jake's brow furrowed. "But I thought you were happy as Riley. I thought this was what you wanted." Riley shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. "I thought so too, but lately I've been feeling like something's missing, like I'm not quite whole." Jake reached out, pulling her into his arms. "Oh, Rye, I'm so sorry. I had no idea you were feeling this way." Riley buried her face in his chest, her tears soaking into his shirt. "I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to hurt you." Jake stroked her hair, his voice soft. "You could never hurt me, Rye. I love you no matter what body you're in." Riley pulled back, her eyes searching his. "You do?" Jake smiled, cupping her face in his hands. "Of course I do. You're my best friend, my partner in crime. Nothing could ever change that." Riley's heart swelled with emotion as she leaned in, pressing her lips to his. The kiss was soft, tender, filled with all the things she couldn't quite put into words. They sat there for a long moment, just holding each other, the movie forgotten. And in that moment, Riley knew that no matter what happened, this is what she wanted, be loved like a girl. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.